Okay, today is the 17th of August, and we come to Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 72, Agi Vachagota Sutta, to Vachagota on fire. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then the wanderer Vachagota went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and asked the Blessed One, "How is it, Master Gotama? Does Master Gotama hold the view, the world is eternal, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, the world is eternal, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How then does Master Gotama hold the view, the world is not eternal, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, the world is not eternal, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How is it, Master Gotama? Does Master Gotama hold the view, the world is finite, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, the world is finite, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How then does Master Gotama hold the view, the world is infinite, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, the world is infinite, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How is it, Master Gotama? Does Master Gotama hold the view, the soul and the body are the same, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, the soul and the body are the same, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How then does Master Gotama hold the view, the soul is one thing and the body another, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, the soul is one thing and the body another, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How is it, Master Gotama? Does Master Gotama hold the view, after death a Tathagata exists, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, after death a Tathagata exists, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How then, Master Gotama? Does Master Gotama hold the view, after death a Tathagata does not exist, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, after death a Tathagata does not exist, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How is it, Master Gotama? Does Master Gotama hold the view, after death a Tathagata both exists and does not exist, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, after death a Tathagata both exists and does not exist, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How then does Master Gotama hold the view, after death a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, only this is true, anything else is wrong?" "Vacha, I do not hold the view, after death a Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, only this is true, anything else is wrong." "How is it then, Master Gotama? When Master Gotama is asked each of these 10 questions, he replies, 'I do not hold that view.' What danger does Master Gotama see that he does not take up any of these speculative views?" Stop here for a moment. This word speculative view, the Pali is ditti gata. Ditti is views. Gata you can say gone. So it's like gone to views. "Vacha, the speculative view that the world is eternal is a thicket of views, a wilderness of views, a contortion of views, a vacillation of views, a fetter of views. It is beset by suffering, by vexation, by despair, and by fever, and it does not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. The speculative view that the world is not eternal, that the world is finite, that the world is infinite, etc., that after death the Tathagata neither exists nor does not exist, is a thicket of views, a wilderness of views, a contortion of views, a vacillation of views, a fetter of views, It is beset by suffering, by vexation, by despair, and by fever. And it does not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. Seeing this danger, I do not take up any of these speculative views. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, all these views is a thicket of views, a wilderness of views, a contortion of views, etc. And it leads to suffering, vexation, despair, not to enlightenment or nibbana. Then does Master Gotama hold any speculative view at all? Vacca, speculative view is something that the Tathagata has put away. For the Tathagata, Vacca, has seen this. Such is material form or body, such its origin, such its disappearance, such is feeling, such its origin, such its disappearance, such is perception, such its origin, such its disappearance, such is volition, such its origin, such its disappearance, such is consciousness, such its origin, such its disappearance. Therefore I say, with the destruction, fading away, cessation, giving up and relinquishing of all conceivings, all excogitations, all I-making, mind-making, and the underlying tendency to conceit, the Tathagata is liberated through not clinging. Stop here for a moment. So the Buddha says that he has seen and understood the five aggregates, body, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. And these five aggregates are basically body and mind, which we take to be I or mine, or myself. So the Buddha says that he has understood the five aggregates and he has relinquished all conceivings, all thinking, all excogitations, and all I-making and mind-making, and the tendency to conceit, mana, conceit. So the Buddha, because he does not have a self, he does not have views. Basically, a person, because we have this conceit, we have this feeling that I exist, I am, it's because of that. And we have a lot of views. When a monk's mind is liberated thus, Master Gotama, where does he reappear after death? The term reappears does not apply, Vacca. Then he does not reappear, Master Gotama. The term does not reappear does not apply, Vacca. Then he both reappears and does not reappear, Master Gotama. The term both reappears and does not reappear does not apply, Vacca. Then he neither reappears nor does not reappear, Master Gotama. The term neither reappears nor does not reappear does not apply, Vacca. When Master Gotama is asked these four questions, he replies, the term reappears does not apply, Vacca. The term does not reappear does not apply, Vacca. The term both reappears and does not reappear does not apply, Vacca. The term neither reappears nor does not reappear does not apply, Vacca. Here I have fallen into bewilderment, Master Gotama. Here I have fallen into confusion, and the measure of confidence I had gained through previous conversation with Master Gotama has now disappeared. And the Buddha said, it is enough to cause you bewilderment, Vacca, enough to cause you confusion, for this Dhamma, Vacca, is profound, hard to see and hard to understand, peaceful and sublime, unattainable by mere reasoning, subtle, to be experienced by the wise. It is hard for you to understand it when you hold another view, accept another teaching, approve of another teaching, pursue a different training, and follow a different teacher. I'll stop here for a moment. So here, when he asked the Buddha that an Arahant, after passing, after death, does he reappear or not, and all this, the Buddha said all these terms do not apply. Then he was confused, and he said that whatever confidence he had in the Buddha has now disappeared. Then the Buddha said, that is natural because the Dhamma is profound, hard to understand. And somebody like you holding another view, following another teacher, pursuing a different training, it's difficult for you to understand. Because someone who follows another religion or another teaching, the foundation is different. So when your foundation is different, it's hard to understand the Dhamma. Even for in Buddhists, nowadays we have a lot of Buddhists are not following the original Buddhism. A lot of them people are following either Mahayana teachings or Hinayana teachings, sectarian Buddhism. And because their training also, their foundation is different, it's difficult for them to understand these original teachings of the Buddha. And then the Buddha said, so I shall question you about this in return, Vajja. Answer as you choose. What do you think, Vajja? Suppose a fire were burning before you. Would you know this fire is burning before me? I would, Master Gotama. If someone were to ask you, Vajja, what does this fire burning before you burn in dependence on? Being asked thus, what would you answer? Being asked thus, Master Gotama, I would answer, this fire burning before me burns in dependence on grass and sticks. If that fire before you were to be extinguished, would you know this fire before me has been extinguished? I would, Master Gotama. If someone were to ask you, Vajja, when that fire before you was extinguished, to which direction did it go? To the east, west, north, or south? Being asked thus, what would you answer? That does not apply, Master Gotama. The fire burned in dependence on its fuel of grass and sticks. When that is used up, it does not get any more fuel. Being without fuel, it is reckoned as extinguished. Stop here for a moment. So here, the Buddha is giving example, a simile of fire. Fire keeps burning because of the fuel. In this case, Vajja says it is the grass and sticks causing the fire to continue to burn. So when the fuel is used up, you cannot see whether the fire went to the north, south, east, or west. So similarly, the Buddha is trying to use this example to say when an Arahant is liberated, that fuel for existence is used up. And so it's like the flame extinguished. That's a simile for Nibbana, cool. We continue on the round of rebirths, life after life, because of three types of fuel: greed, hatred, and delusion. When you cut away that greed, hatred, and delusion, there is no more fuel for that round of rebirths. So too, Vajja, the Tathagata has abandoned that material form by which one describing the Tathagata might describe him. He has cut it off at the root, made it like a palm stump, done away with it so that it is no longer subject to future arising. The Tathagata is liberated from reckoning in terms of material form. Vajja, he is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable, like the ocean. The term reappears does not apply. The term does not reappear does not apply. The term both reappears and does not reappear does not apply. The term neither reappears nor does not reappear does not apply. The Tathagata has abandoned that feeling by which one describing the Tathagata might describe him. Similarly, he has abandoned that perception, volition, consciousness by which one describing the Tathagata might describe him. He has cut it off at the root, made it like a palm stump, done away with it so that it is no longer subject to future arising. The Tathagata is liberated from reckoning in terms of the aggregates, Vajja. He is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable like the ocean. The term reappears does not apply. The term does not reappear does not apply. The term both reappears and does not reappear does not apply. The term neither appears nor does not appear does not apply. When this was said, the wanderer Vajjhagota said to the Blessed One, Master Gotama, suppose there were a great sala tree not far from a village or town, and impermanence wore away its branches and foliage, its bark and sapwood, so that on a later occasion, being divested of branches and foliage, divested of bark and sapwood, it became pure, consisting entirely of hardwood. So too, this discourse of Master Gotama's is divested of branches and foliage, divested of bark and sapwood, and is pure, consisting entirely of hardwood. Magnificent Master Gotama, magnificent Master Gotama. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright, but had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go to Master Gotama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha of monks. From today, let Master Gotama remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge for life. It's the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha says that he has abandoned the form, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. In other words, after the Buddha has passed away, all these, the five aggregates, will not reappear. So that's why the Buddha says he is profound, immeasurable, unfathomable. So it's like the flame has been extinguished. It will not light up again. So in the same way, the aggregates by which you can describe the Buddha will not reappear. That's why in the Samyutta, in the Suttas, the Buddha says the Buddha and the Arahants, after they pass away, no one will be able to see them or hear them again. And this contradicts some of the Mahayana sutras, like for example the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutta, where they at the beginning of that sutra, they say when the Buddha was about to speak that sutra, millions and millions of Buddhas came. But the Buddhas have entered Nibbana and they cannot come again. So when Arahant has finished his work, just like the flame burning, depending on grass and sticks, when the grass and sticks, the fuel is used up, then the flame will just go out. And you cannot say that it's gone in to the north or south or east or west. So similarly, when an Arahant has eliminated greed, hatred and delusion, so when he enters Parinibbana, there is no more fuel for rebirth. So just like the flame, it is extinguished. You cannot say that he reappears or does not reappear, etc. Okay, now Sutta 73, Mahavajjhagota Sutta, the greater discourse to Vajjhagota. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Then the wanderer Vajjhagota went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Blessed One, I have had conversations with Master Gotama for a long time. It would be good if Master Gotama would teach me in brief the wholesome and the unwholesome. And the Buddha said, I can teach you the wholesome and the unwholesome in brief, Vajja, and I can teach you the wholesome and the unwholesome at length. Still, I will teach you the wholesome and the unwholesome in brief. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Stop here for a moment. So from here, it seems like the wanderer Vachagota, he has often consulted the Buddha on the Dhamma. And the Buddha, yes sir, he replied, and the Blessed One said, Vacha, greed is unwholesome, non-greed is wholesome. Hatred is unwholesome, non-hatred is wholesome. Delusion is unwholesome, non-delusion is wholesome. In this way, 3 things are unwholesome and the other 3 things are wholesome. Killing living beings is unwholesome. Abstention from killing living beings is wholesome. Taking what is not given is unwholesome. Abstention from taking what is not given is wholesome. Misconduct in sensual pleasures is unwholesome. Abstention from misconduct in sensual pleasures is wholesome. False speech is unwholesome. Abstention from false speech is wholesome. Malicious speech is unwholesome. Abstention from malicious speech is wholesome. Harsh speech is unwholesome. Abstention from harsh speech is wholesome. Gossip is unwholesome. Abstention from gossip is wholesome. Covetousness is unwholesome. Uncovetousness is wholesome. Ill will is unwholesome. Non-ill will is wholesome. Wrong view is unwholesome. Right view is wholesome. In this way, 10 things are unwholesome, and the other 10 things are wholesome. When a monk has abandoned craving, cut it off at the root, made it like a palm stump, done away with it so that it is no longer subject to future arising, then that monk is an arahant with taints destroyed, one who has lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached the true goal, destroyed the fetters of being, and is completely liberated through final knowledge. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is talking about the 10 evil karmas and the 10 wholesome karmas. And monk is liberated by abandoning craving. Apart from Master Gotama, is there any one monk, Master Gotama's disciple, who by realizing for himself with direct knowledge here and now enters upon and abides in the deliverance by mind and deliverance by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints? Stop here for a moment. So here he's asking, besides the Buddha, are there other arahants? And here you see arahants, he mentions 2 types. One is liberated by mind, the other one is liberated by wisdom. I think yesterday we saw in Sutta 70, the Buddha mentioned 2 arahants, 2 ways liberated and liberated by wisdom. That's why I mentioned that 2 ways liberated is the same as liberated by mind, because liberated by mind means liberated by mind as well as liberated by wisdom. And the Buddha said, there are not only 100 vacha, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, but far more monks, my disciples, who by realizing for themselves with direct knowledge here and now, enter upon and abide in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. Apart from Master Gotama and the monks, is there any one nun, Master Gotama's disciple, who by realizing for herself with direct knowledge here and now enters upon and abides in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints? There are not only 100, 2, 3 or 500, but far more nuns, my disciples, who by realizing for themselves with direct knowledge here and now enter upon and abide in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that his monk and nun disciples, there are far more than 500. It should be a few thousand arahant monks and a few thousand arahant nuns. You see from the Vinaya books that it is mentioned there are about 1,060 arahants, the first 1,060 arahants who attain liberation with the help of the Buddha, and practically all of them attain liberation just by listening to the sutta discourse. And the Buddha chose those people to give the sutta discourse to. Those people the Buddha went to generally were those who had attained the jhanas. So when the Buddha spoke the suttas to them, they immediately understood and attained arahanthood. Apart from Master Gotama and the monks and nuns, is there any one lay follower, Master Gotama's disciple, clothed in white, leading a life of celibacy, who with the destruction of the 5 lower fetters will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world? There are not only 100, 2, 3 or 500, but far more men lay followers, my disciples, clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy, who with the destruction of the 5 lower fetters will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world. Stop here for a moment. So here he's asking about men, lay followers who lead a life of celibacy. That means they abstain from sexual relations. So during the Buddha's time, there were also thousands of laymen who, even though some of them may be married, but they live separately from their wives, and they practice very hard. They sometimes they practice in their room. They take their room to be like a cave for a monk, and they don't leave that room all the time they can. They stay in that room and meditate and attain the jhanas, and then they destroy the 5 lower fetters, meaning they become anagamin, non-returners, and will be reborn in the Suddhavasa heavens, pure abodes, and from there attain Nibbana, enter Nibbana. So you see, there are some laymen, they also lead a life of celibacy like monks, but instead of wearing the robe, they prefer to practice at home. That is also possible. Only thing is, it's harder to practice in the home because you are surrounded by other people, and if you don't socialize with other people, people tend to come and pull you out, unless your will is very strong. You just refuse to associate with people and keep aloof from society. Anyway, whatever we want to attain, without strong determination, we can never attain anything. Apart from Master Gotama, the monks and nuns and the men lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy, is there any one man lay follower, Master Gotama's disciple, clothed in white, enjoying sensual pleasures, who carries out his instruction, responds to his advice, has gone beyond doubt, become free from perplexity, gain intrepidity, and become independent of others in the teacher's dispensation? And the Buddha said, there are not only 100, 2, 3, 4 or 500, but far more men, lay followers, my disciples, clothed in white, enjoying sensual pleasures, who carry out my instruction, respond to my advice, have gone beyond doubt, become free from perplexity, gain intrepidity, and become independent of others in the teacher's dispensation. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says his men lay followers who live at home and live a normal lay life, enjoying sensual pleasures. Thousands of them have attained Sotapanna and Sakadagamin, first fruition and second fruition, Arya. These two, Sotapanna and Sakadagamin, they don't need perfect samadhi. Perfect concentration means the 4 jhanas. So even with the upachara samadhi, threshold concentration, which is very near to the first jhana, or just the first jhana, person can become a Sotapanna and Sakadagamin. Apart from Master Gotama, the monks and nuns and men lay followers clothed in white, both those leading lives of celibacy and those enjoying sensual pleasures. Is there any one woman lay follower, Master Gautama's disciple, clothed in white, leading a life of celibacy, who with the destruction of the 5 lower fetters will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world? There are not only 100, 2, 3, 4 or 500, but far more women lay followers, my disciples, clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy, who with the destruction of the 5 lower fetters will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes and there attain final nibbana without ever returning from that world. Apart from Master Gautama, the monks and nuns and the men lay followers clothed in white, both those leading lives of celibacy and those enjoying sensual pleasures, and the women lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy, is there any one woman lay follower, Master Gautama's disciple, clothed in white, enjoying sensual pleasures, who carries out his instruction, responds to his advice, has gone beyond doubt, become free from perplexity, gain intrepidity, and become independent of others in the teacher's dispensation? There are not only 1, 2, 3, 4 or 500, but far more women lay followers, my disciples, clothed in white, enjoying sensual pleasures, who carry out my instruction, respond to my advice, have gone beyond doubt, become free from perplexity, gain intrepidity, and become independent of others in the teacher's dispensation. Stop it for a moment. So here the Buddha says, just like the men lay followers, women lay followers also, there are those who lead lives of celibacy, have attained the third fruition, anagamin, thousands of them. And also those women lay followers living the home life, enjoying sensual pleasures, also thousands of them have attained Sotapanna and Sakadagamin, the first and second fruition, just like the men. Master Gautama, if only Master Gautama were accomplished in this Dhamma Vinaya, but no monks were accomplished, then this holy life would be deficient in that respect. But because Master Gautama and the monks are accomplished in this Dhamma, this holy life is thus complete in that respect. If only Master Gautama and the monks were accomplished in this Dhamma, but no nuns were accomplished, then this holy life would be deficient in that respect. But because Master Gautama, monks and nuns are accomplished in this Dhamma, this holy life is thus complete in that respect. If only Master Gautama, monks and nuns were accomplished in this Dhamma, but no men lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy were accomplished, then this holy life would be deficient in that respect. But because Master Gautama, monks and nuns and men lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy are accomplished in this Dhamma, this holy life is thus complete in that respect. If only Master Gautama, monks and nuns, and men lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy were accomplished in this Dhamma, but no men lay followers clothed in white, enjoying sensual pleasures were accomplished, then this holy life would be deficient in that respect. But because Master Gautama, monks and nuns, and men lay followers clothed in white, both those leading lives of celibacy and those enjoying sensual pleasures are accomplished in this Dhamma, this holy life is thus complete in that respect. If only Master Gautama, monks and nuns, and men lay followers clothed in white, etc., were accomplished in this Dhamma, but no women lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy were accomplished, then this holy life would be deficient in that respect. But because Master Gautama, monks and nuns, men lay followers, etc., and women lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy are accomplished in this Dhamma, this holy life is thus complete in that respect. If only Master Gautama, monks and nuns, men lay followers clothed in white, etc., and women lay followers clothed in white, leading lives of celibacy were accomplished in this Dhamma, but no women lay followers clothed in white, enjoying sensual pleasures were accomplished, then this holy life would be deficient in that respect. But because Master Gautama, monks and nuns, men lay followers clothed in white, both those leading lives of celibacy and those enjoying sensual pleasures, and women lay followers clothed in white, both leading lives of celibacy and those enjoying sensual pleasures, are accomplished in this Dhamma, this holy life is thus complete in that respect. Just as the river Ganges inclines towards the sea, slopes towards the sea, flows towards the sea, and merges with the sea. So too, Master Gautama's assembly, with its homeless ones and its householders, inclines towards Nibbana, slopes towards Nibbana, flows towards Nibbana, and merges with Nibbana. Stop here for a moment. So here, he is praising the Buddha, because the Buddha and the assembly of monks and nuns and lay people are all accomplished in the Dhamma, having attained various stages of Aryahood. So you see, like monks and nuns, because they have completely renounced, they can attain the highest Arahanthood. And for lay people, men and women lay followers, because they renounce partially, they stay at home but lead lives of celibacy, they can attain up to Anagamin. And then those leading household lives, householders, and enjoying sensual pleasures, they can attain up to the first and the second fruitions, Sotapanna and Sakadagamin. So the more you renounce, the higher stage you can achieve. Magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent Master Gautama. Master Gautama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go to Master Gautama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha of monks. I will receive the going forth under Master Gautama. I will receive the full ordination. Stop here for a moment. So here you see, he takes refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha of monks. This notice here, the Sangha refers to the Sangha of monks. Sometimes people say, take refuge with the Aryan Sangha, but the Aryan Sangha, you don't know who are the Aryans, so how can you take refuge? So it is the monks that you take refuge to with. So the Sangha refers to the Sangha of monks. So finally, after being instructed by the Buddha on the Dhamma many times, Vajjhagota, after this discourse, he decided to renounce and become a monk disciple. And the Buddha said, Vajja, one who formerly belonged to another sect and desires the going forth and the full ordination in this Dhamma Vinaya, lives on probation for 4 months. At the end of 4 months, if the monks are satisfied with him, they give him the going forth and the full ordination in the monk state. But I recognize individual differences in this matter. Venerable Sir, if those who formerly belong to another sect and desire the going forth and the full admission in this Dhamma Vinaya, live on probation for 4 months, and if at the end of the 4 months, the monks being satisfied with them, give them the going forth and the full ordination to the monk state, then I will live on probation for 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, if the monks are satisfied with me, let them give me the going forth and the full admission to the monk state. Then the wanderer Vajjhagota received the going forth under the Blessed One, and he received the full ordination. So here you see, he's so eager to become a monk under the Buddha. He said, even you put me on probation for 4 years or so, I'll be happy. So the Buddha saw that he was so eager. The Buddha immediately ordained him. Not long after his full ordination, a half month after his full ordination, the Venerable Vajjhagota went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and told the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, I have attained whatever can be attained by the knowledge of a disciple in higher training, by the true knowledge of a disciple in higher training. Let the Blessed One teach me the Dhamma further. And then the Buddha said, in that case, Vajja, develop further 2 things, samatha and vipassana. When these 2 things are developed further, they will lead to the penetration of many elements. To the extent that you may wish, may I wield the various kinds of psychic power. Having been one, may I become many. Having been many, may I become one. May I appear and vanish. May I go unhindered through a wall. through an enclosure, through a mountain, as though through space. May I dive in and out of the earth as though it were water. May I walk on water without sinking as though it were earth. Seated cross-legged, may I travel in space like a bird. With my hand, may I touch and stroke the moon and sun, so powerful and mighty. May I wield bodily mastery even as far as the Brahma world. You will attain the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. Stop here for a moment. So this one refers to this, I think they call it psychokinesis, various types of psychic power. One body, he can multiply his bodies into many, and then he can appear and vanish, go through a wall and through a mountain, etc. Dive in and out of the earth, walk on water, just like Jesus Christ. Travel like a bird, fly like a bird, touch the sun and moon, and fly with a flesh body as far as the Brahma world. To the extent that you may wish, may I, with the divine ear element, which is purified and surpasses the human, hear both kinds of sounds, the divine and the human, those that are far as well as near. You will attain the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. Stop here for a moment. So here, Buddha says, if you develop samatha and vipassana, this second thing you can attain is the heavenly ear. That means you can hear the sounds of these spirits talking, either ghosts or celestial beings and human beings. Far away also you can hear. To the extent that you may wish, may I understand the minds of other beings, of other persons, having encompassed them with my own mind. May I understand the mind affected by lust as affected by lust, and the mind unaffected by lust as unaffected by lust. May I understand the mind affected by hate as affected by hate, and the mind unaffected by hate as unaffected by hate. May I understand the mind affected by delusion as affected by delusion, and the mind unaffected by delusion as unaffected by delusion. May I understand the contracted mind as contracted, and the distracted mind as distracted. May I understand an exalted mind as exalted, and an unexalted mind as unexalted. May I understand a surpassed mind as surpassed, and an unsurpassed mind as unsurpassed. May I understand a concentrated mind as concentrated, and an unconcentrated mind as unconcentrated. May I understand a liberated mind as liberated, and an unliberated mind as unliberated. You will attain the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. So here Buddha says, this third one, you can read the minds of other beings. But it says that there being a suitable basis, that means provided you have the condition, basically the condition is at least the fourth rupa jhana before all these psychic powers come. To the extent that you may wish, may I recollect my manifold past lives, 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 4, 10, 100, 1,000, etc., etc. Thus, with the aspects and particulars, may I recollect my manifold past lives. You will attain the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. To the extent that you may wish, may I, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, see beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, etc., and understand how beings pass on according to their actions or karma. You will attain the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. To the extent that you may wish, may I, by realizing for myself with direct knowledge, here and now enter upon and abide in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. You will attain the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. Then the Venerable Vajjhagota, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's words, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he departed. Before long, dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute, the Venerable Vajjhagota, by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, here and now entered upon and abided in the supreme goal of the holy life, for the sake of which cleansement rightly go forth, from the home life into homelessness. He directly knew birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. And the Venerable Vajragota became one of the Arahants. Stop here for a moment. So here you see, after he was ordained for 2 weeks, he came to ask the Buddha for further instructions. He says that he has attained whatever can be attained by the knowledge of a disciple in higher training, by the true knowledge of a disciple in higher training. And when he asked for further instructions, the Buddha asked him to develop samatha and vipassana. So now, according to the commentary, they say that after 2 weeks, this Venerable Vajragota had attained the state of an anagamin, third fruition. But I think that is a bit doubtful. If we refer to the Vinaya books, we find when the Buddha first went to his first 2 meditation teachers, Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputta, I think it's also mentioned in one of the Majjhima Nikaya Suttas, that after staying with his meditation teachers, he could attain to the this arupas or arupa jhanas that the teachers had attained, and it is mentioned that he says roughly the same thing, that I have attained whatever can be attained by the knowledge of a disciple in higher training, by the true knowledge of a disciple in higher training. So maybe this Venerable Vajragota had attained the 4 jhanas, maybe he has attained the 4 jhanas. So the Buddha asked him to develop samatha and vipassana. Or he has not attained 4 jhanas, maybe he has attained 1 or 2 or 3 jhanas. So the Buddha asked him to develop further this samatha. Samatha means the practice of samadhi, to attain samadhi. So the Buddha is probably telling him to strengthen his samadhi, his concentration, and then to practice vipassana, which is contemplation. Contemplation means contemplation of 4 things. Contemplation of the nature of the body, feelings, the mind, and Dhamma. Dhamma is the Buddha's Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings. And out of these 4 things, these 4 objects of contemplation, the most important is the Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings, because it leads to enlightenment. Because as I mentioned before, the 5 occasions a person becomes liberated. Out of these 5, 4 of them have to do with the Dhamma, listening to the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, repeating the Dhamma, and reflecting on the Dhamma. So the Dhamma is extremely important for liberation. So here the Buddha tells him that if he develops samatha and vipassana more deeply, then he can attain the abhinyas. Abhinyas are the higher knowledges. Out of these, the 6 higher knowledges mentioned in the suttas are these: psychokinesis, various types of psychic power. Second one is the heavenly ear. Third one is to be able to read the minds of other beings. The 4th is to recollect the past. The 5th is the heavenly eye. And the 6th is the destruction of the asavas, destruction of the taints. And that means attaining of arahanthood or liberation. So these are the 6 abhinyas, the 6 higher knowledges. So Venerable Vajragota, after listening to the Buddha's instructions, he went to live alone. Generally, a monk is only allowed to live alone after he has stayed 5 years with his teacher and he has learned the Dhamma and the Vinaya. So here he lived alone and he practiced very hard, and probably after a few years he became liberated. Now on that occasion, a number of monks were going to see the Blessed One. The Venerable Vajragota saw them coming in the distance. Seeing them, he went to them and asked them, "Where are the Venerable Ones going?" "We are going to see the Blessed One, friend." "In that case, may the Venerable Ones pay homage in my name with their heads at the Blessed One's feet, saying, Venerable Sir, the monk Vajjhagota pays homage with his head at the Blessed One's feet. Then say, the Blessed One has been worshipped by me, the Sublime One has been worshipped by me. Yes, friend, those monks replied. Then they went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, they sat down at one side and told the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, the Venerable Vajjhagota pays homage with his head at the Blessed One's feet, and he says, the Blessed One has been worshipped by me, the Sublime One has been worshipped by me. And the Buddha said, Monks, having encompassed his mind with my own mind, I already knew of the monk Vajjhagota. The monk Vajjhagota has attained the threefold true knowledge and has great supernormal power and might. And deities also told me this. The monk Vajjhagota has attained the threefold true knowledge and has great supernormal power and might. That is what the Blessed One said. Those monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So here, Venerable Vajjhagota, he asked the other monks to pay homage to the Buddha in his name, and also to say that the Blessed One has been worshipped by me, the Sublime One has been worshipped by me. This is the way the Arahants indicate that they have finished their work. They don't say, I have become enlightened, because they have no more I. So they say they have given the highest homage to the Buddha. The highest homage to the Buddha is to carry out the Buddha's instructions fully and attain enlightenment. So it is not by bowing down to the Buddha statue that you pay homage to the Buddha. Real homage to the Buddha is practicing the Buddha's instructions, doing what is hard to do, cutting out our defilements, getting rid of all these unwholesome states of mind that trouble us this lifetime and will trouble us in future lifetimes. So we follow the Buddha's instructions, do what is hard to do, struggle, and get rid of unwholesome states of mind. And if we can do that, then we have carried out the Buddha's instructions, and we have worshipped the Buddha. Now we come to the next sutta, 74, Diga Naka Sutta, to Diga Naka. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the boar's cave on the mountain Vulture Peak. Then the wanderer Diga Naka went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he stood at one side and said to the Blessed One, Master Gotama, my doctrine and view is this: nothing is acceptable to me. This view of yours, Agivesana, nothing is acceptable to me, is not at least that view acceptable to you? If this view of mine were acceptable to me, Master Gotama, it too would be the same, it too would be the same. Well, Agivesana, there are plenty in the world who say, it too would be the same, it too would be the same. Yet they do not abandon that view, and they take up still some other view. Those are few in the world who say, it too would be the same, it too would be the same, and who abandon that view and do not take up some other view. Stop here for a moment. So this Diga Naka. Diga is long, Naka is nails, I think. So this refers to, he is a type of ascetic who refuses to cut his nails. The nails become so long until they turn, some of them, in a loop. They think, maybe he thinks very pretty. So he says, nothing is acceptable to me. In other words, he has no views. No views are acceptable to him. Then the Buddha said, that also is a view. If you say you have no view, that also is a view, isn't it? If somebody says, I have no view, that is your view that you have no view. So the Buddha said, isn't that acceptable to you? Then he said, if it was acceptable, then it's all the same, it's all the same. This is another type of proliferation of view. So when the Buddha confuted him and sort of showed him that that is not correct. How can you say you have no view? That itself is a view. But he refused to admit. He refused to admit he's wrong. So the Buddha said there are some people like that. They refuse to admit that they are wrong. And after that they hold on to another view. They keep holding on to views. But there are some people, they admit they are wrong, and they abandon that view and do not take up another view. Then the Buddha said, the Buddha calls him Agivesana. This is probably his clan name. The Buddha knows his clan. Agivesana. There are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: everything is acceptable to me. There are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: nothing is acceptable to me. And there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me. Among those, the view of those recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, everything is acceptable to me, is close to lust, close to bondage, close to delighting, close to holding, close to clinging. The view of those recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, nothing is acceptable to me, is close to non-lust, close to non-bondage, close to non-delighting, close to non-holding, close to non-clinging. When this was said, the wanderer Diganaka remarked, Master Gotama commends my point of view. Master Gotama commends my point of view. Stop here for a moment. So the Buddha had not finished speaking. This Diganaka, when he heard when the Buddha says that this view, nothing is acceptable to me, is close to non-lust, non-bondage, non-delighting. Then he was very happy. He thought the Buddha said that he was right. Then the Buddha continued, Agivesana, as to those recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me. The view of theirs as to what is acceptable is close to lust, close to bondage, close to delighting, close to holding, close to clinging, while the view of theirs as to what is not acceptable is close to non-lust, close to non-bondage, close to non-delighting, close to non-holding, close to non-clinging. Now, Agivesana, a wise man among those recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, everything is acceptable to me, considers thus: if I obstinately adhere to my view, everything is acceptable to me, and declare, only this is true, anything else is wrong, then I may clash with the two others, with the recluse or Brahmin who holds the doctrine and view, nothing is acceptable to me, and with the recluse or Brahmin who holds the doctrine and view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me. I may clash with these two, and where there is a clash, there are disputes. When there are disputes, there are quarrels. When there are quarrels, there is vexation. Foreseeing for himself clashes, disputes, quarrels, and vexation, he abandons that view and does not take up some other view. That is how there comes to be the abandoning of these views. That is how there comes to be the relinquishing of these views. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that if a person holds on to a certain view and obstinately, then he will clash with other people who have different views. So if he realizes this, he should not obstinately cling to any view. And this can lead to abandoning of views if he is wise enough. Sometimes people say the Buddha has no view. It's not true. As you can see from here, if the Buddha says he has no view, that is also a view. So the Buddha never said he has no views. A wise man among those recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, nothing is acceptable to me, considers thus: if I obstinately adhere to my view, nothing is acceptable to me, and declare, only this is true, anything else is wrong, then I may clash with the other two, With a recluse or Brahmin who holds a doctrine and view, everything is acceptable to me. And with a recluse or Brahmin who holds a doctrine and view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me. I may clash with these two, and when there is a clash, there are disputes. When there are disputes, there are quarrels. When there are quarrels, there is vexation. For seeing for himself clashes, disputes, quarrels, and vexation, he abandons that view and does not take up some other view. That is how there comes to be the abandoning of views. That is how there comes to be the relinquishing of views. A wise man among these recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me, considers thus: if I obstinately adhere to my view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me, and declare, only this is true, anything else is wrong, then I may clash with the two others. With a recluse or Brahmin who holds a doctrine and view, everything is acceptable to me, and with a recluse or Brahmin who holds a doctrine and view, nothing is acceptable to me. I may clash with these two, and when there is a clash, there are disputes. When there are disputes, there are quarrels. When there are quarrels, there is vexation. For seeing for himself clashes, disputes, quarrels, and vexation, he abandons that view and does not take up some other view. That is how there comes to be the abandoning of these views. That is how there comes to be the relinquishing of these views. I'll stop here for a moment. So here, basically, the Buddha says to give up views that have no substantive basis, like here. Like what is mentioned here, it's only based on your preference. Some people say everything is acceptable, some people say nothing is acceptable. All these, there's no really good basis for it. Now, Agivesana, this body made up of material form, consisting of the four great elements, procreated by a mother and father, and built up out of boiled rice and porridge, is subject to impermanence, to being worn and rubbed away, to dissolution and disintegration. It should be regarded as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as a calamity, as an affliction, as alien, as disintegrating, as void, as not self. When one regards this body thus, one abandons desire for the body, affection for the body, subservience to the body. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says to see our body is arose from conditions, from mother and father, and maintained by nutrition, rice and porridge. But it is subject to impermanence, to dissolution and disintegration. So because it is impermanent, it is suffering, should be regarded as a disease, tumor. In other words, we have cancer. Every one of us, as long as you have a body, you have cancer. Meaning, anytime you are liable to die. You don't know when we are going to die. Just as a person with cancer, his life is limited. Maybe the doctor says 6 months more or 2 months more. In the same way, our life is limited. How long we have to live, we don't know. Right now, inside our body, this cancer may be growing. And then sometime later, when this lump comes out, then only the doctor tells you have cancer. But now the Buddha is telling us every one of us has got cancer. So the Buddha says we should abandon desire for the body, affection for the body, subservience to the body. There are, Agivesana, 3 kinds of feeling: pleasant feeling, painful feeling, and neither painful nor pleasant feeling. On the occasion when one feels pleasant feeling, one does not feel painful feeling, or neither painful nor pleasant feeling. On that occasion, one feels only pleasant feeling. On the occasion when one feels painful feeling, one does not feel pleasant feeling, or neither painful nor pleasant feeling. On that occasion, one feels only painful feeling. On the occasion when one feels neither painful nor pleasant feeling, one does not feel pleasant feeling or painful feeling. On that occasion, one feels only neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Pleasant feeling, Agivesana, is impermanent, conditioned, independently arisen, subject to destruction, vanishing, fading away and ceasing. Painful feeling too is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, vanishing and fading away and ceasing. Neither painful nor pleasant feeling too is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, vanishing, fading away and ceasing. Seeing thus, a well-taught, noble disciple becomes disenchanted with pleasant feeling, disenchanted with painful feeling, disenchanted with neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Being disenchanted, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge it is liberated. He understands birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. A monk whose mind is liberated thus, Agivesana, sides with none and disputes with none. He employs the speech currently used in the world without adhering to it. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, when the monk considers carefully this body and feeling, that both are impermanent and is a source of suffering. So he does not cling to it. When he does not, when he is disenchanted with the body and feeling, then he becomes dispassionate. And from dispassion, he becomes liberated. And when a monk is liberated and Arahant, he sides with none, disputes with none. But he employs the speech currently used in the world without adhering to it. In other words, even though he does not have an ego, a self, an I or mind, but still when he talks to people, he still uses speech of I and mind, just like other people. But even though he does not have the I and the mind, but normal convention he follows. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Sariputta was standing behind the Blessed One, fanning him. Then he thought, the Blessed One indeed speaks of the abandoning of these things through direct knowledge. The Sublime One indeed speaks of the relinquishing of these things through direct knowledge. As the Venerable Sariputta considered this, through not clinging, his mind was liberated from the taints. But in the wanderer Diganaka, the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. The wanderer Diganaka saw the Dhamma, attained the Dhamma, understood the Dhamma, fathomed the Dhamma. He crossed beyond doubt, did away with perplexity, gained intrepidity, and became independent of others in the teacher's dispensation. Then he said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, Magnificent Master Gotama. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go to Master Gotama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha of monks. From today, let Master Gotama remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge for life. That's the end of the sutta. So here, this last part, Venerable Sariputta was standing behind the Buddha, fanning him. At that time, Venerable Sariputta had just come to follow the Buddha for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, he must have practiced very hard and attained the jhanas. So when he heard the Buddha speaking this Dhamma, encouraging a monk to let go, not be attached to body and to feelings, he understood and he attained liberation, he attained arahanthood. That means, because in the Vinaya books it is stated that Venerable Sariputta attained arahanthood 2 weeks after coming to become a disciple of the Buddha. But in this Diganaka, this ascetic, he saw the Dhamma, and the basic Dhamma here is stated this way. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. That means everything in the world that arises will pass away. So he understood this, crossed beyond doubt, became independent of others in the teacher's dispensation. Once a person understands the Dhamma, then the Buddha says he becomes independent of others. He knows the real teacher is the Buddha. So he stopped here because The next sutta is quite a long and important sutta, 75 Magandhya. Anything to discuss? Does it mean what? That means the basic Dhamma he knows already, and he does not chase after famous teachers. A lot of people, when you are not you are not steep in the Dhamma, you haven't really understood the Dhamma. A lot of people, they chase after teachers and they hero worship teachers. But in this case, he becomes independent of others, means he knows that the real teacher is the Buddha. But he still, actually, he does not really need any other teacher. But if he has some doubts about the certain passages in the, if he does not really understand certain passages in the Dhamma, he may consult a monk who knows more to clarify. In other words, he studies the sutta and he discusses the sutta with others. But even without a teacher, he can progress. He has the basic knowledge. I would think so, because if a person understands the Dhamma to the extent of being an Arya, then he should be able to distinguish between true Dhamma and false Dhamma.
Going back to this Sutta 73, paragraph 18.
Yes.
Here, this Majjhima came around to, then he asked further to what to learn further.
Where is it stated that he attained arahanthood?
No, he attained whatever can be attained by the knowledge of disciple in higher training. So later, that the Buddha said that in that case, he can further put things serenity and insight.
The Buddha says develop further. That means it doesn't mean that he does not have samatha and vipassana. He may have, but the Buddha asked him to develop it further, take it deeper. Because as I explained just now, he says, I have attained whatever can be attained by the knowledge of a disciple in higher training. I said the commentary says that he has attained anagamin, but I'm doubtful about that. When I compare it with the sutta or the Vinaya books where the Buddha talked about his meeting his first and second meditation teachers, namely Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputta, he stayed with those teachers and learned meditation and attained those immaterial jhanas, these arupa jhanas. And after he attained arupa jhanas, he said basically these same words, I have attained whatever can be attained by the knowledge of a disciple in higher training. But then because he was not enlightened, then he left those teachers. So here probably he had already attained some jhanas. He had attained some jhanas. So he came to the Buddha for further instruction to help him become enlightened. Then the Buddha told him to develop further samatha and vipassana, deepen your concentration and contemplate more on the Dhamma.
Okay, that means they develop one jhana already. So they want to develop further, they go to the inside.
Both. That means higher, develop higher jhanas and also contemplation. And then these abhinayas will come, the Buddha is telling.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Okay, I think I agree with Bhante on the part where the commentary says that it's first theory again anandami. But in Majjhima Nikaya, book 11, the Buddha described 11 types of person, and described that the anandami, they will not attain Nirvana as human in this human world. But once Buddha attain Nirvana, it is very light, so it cannot be an anandami.
Yes. A lot of things in the commentaries just contradict the suttas. Okay, can we stop here?